one you're going to see two of them actually. Uh, this is one of them right in here. That's called the dura mater. That's the what they call in common language tough mother, because it's very, very strong layer. It's very fibrous, and that's why things are going to be a little bit more interesting, because I need to kind of cut and remove this before I show you everything else. But that's one of the membranes that you need to notice. Now the nerves that I mentioned, olfactory nerves, that's one of them there, and that's the other one on this side in here. The optic nerves are these. That's one of them, and that is the other one. The other thing in here in this brain that's also important, you're not going to see it when I remove the dura mater, is the pituitary gland. This is actually the pituitary gland right there. This thing right here. Got it? If you want to study things carefully, you got to do some cleaning. By the way, when you do cleaning, use the probe. Don't use the needle, don't use scissors or anything like that. Use the probe, because this does not damage things. It just removes the tissue and clean it up. So if you do some cleaning, you'll be able to kind of expose the pituitary gland, and you can see that's your pituitary gland, or the sheep pituitary. Okay. If you are really good, you can try to identify the other 12 or the other 10 cranial nerves. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to remove the meninges, and that's a little bit challenging. So I'm going to use the scissors, try to cut through this without damaging the brain.
What species is this?
Sheep.
Sheep.
A what? Somebody understand you. I didn't understand what you said. What did you say?
What species?
What species?
Sheep. Sheep.
Is that what you said?
Yeah. That's what it
Species?
says.
I'll send this to whoever wants it.
Thanks.
All of this black is actually blood. So the pituitary gland, when I take the dura mater off, the pituitary gland is actually going to come off too. It'll be stuck to the dura mater. So that's the pituitary gland.
Can you touch it again?
The pituitary gland? Yeah, right there. Yeah. So here goes the meninges. I'm actually lucky. I didn't damage anything. You notice that it takes a while to carefully try to get the meninges off. But what you can do after you take it off, if you want to see how tough this is, just try to. You can't rip it. It's very, very tough.
Take your word for it.
So that's why it's protective. You can put a gloves on and try it. So.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Anyways, so then what you can do is you can take the brain and look at it from the dorsal side. Again, this whole thing on the top in here, that's the cerebrum. That is the cerebellum. And when you look at the cerebrum, you can see all the black in there. Those are the blood vessels that covers the whole cerebrum. And then you can see the elevated areas. These are your gyri. And then the depression in there, or the grooves in there. Those are your sulci. This one is actually a very good sample in here, because when you look at the cerebellum, you can see the two halves in here, and you can see the vermis. That's the vermis that connects the two halves of the cerebellum. If you use your probe, you can try to separate. That's actually the inner layer of the meninges that I'm cutting through in here, and you can try to separate the two section of the cerebrum. It's easy to do. Ooh. I don't want to break that. Yeah, it's easy to break. I don't want to break that. So you can actually separate them. But remember, you can't separate them all the way because of that
Nerve
fibers that go across the corpus callosum. Remember that name?
Mm-hmm.
Right on the top right side, corpus callosum. When you take the sheep brain, if you carefully bend the cerebellum away from the cerebrum and look at the inside, or what's below the cerebrum, you're going to see the four rounded structures that we talked about. Those are your corpora quadrigemina. Let's see, where is that name in there? Yeah, right on the right. See on the right side on the screen. See where it says? Yeah, that's the corpora quadrigemina. The two top circles and the two bottom circles. Then you have to be really careful, extremely careful, and bend it a little more. And right on top of the corpora quadrigemina, you're going to see the pineal gland or the pineal body. It's going to look right. You'll have to get close, when you do it and look at it, you'll be able to see it. It's not going to look anything like, what you see on the model. You're going to see the whole three-dimensional part of the pineal body. If you turn the sheep brain to the other side, the ventral side, you can see the pons, and you can see the medulla oblongata, and that's the spinal cord. After you're done with that, what I usually do is I put the sheep brain down and get a scalpel, and right through the middle, where that longitudinal fissure is, cut right through, all the way through. And then have the sheep brain open just like you're opening a book. You have two sections. And some of the things you'll be able to see in this view, for example, is you can see the tree of life, or the arbor vitae, in the cerebellum, all the white tree in here. You can see that very easily. And the other thing that you'll be able to see in here, see this white structure in here? That's actually, again, that's that corpus callosum. Right underneath it, if you look carefully, there is a very thin membrane. That's called septum pellucidum. If you look on the left labels in there, yeah, septum pellucidum. That's a membrane that separates the two lateral ventricles. So if you go right through it with the probe, that's a cavity. That's a lateral ventricle. And then on the other side, you have the other lateral ventricle. That's where you find the cerebrospinal fluid. This in here, this rounded area in here, and this area right in here, that's the thalamus. This actually didn't come out very good. You're supposed to see that little round area that we call the intermediate mass, just like the picture. Maybe when you do the sheep brain, maybe you get a better sample. That will look a little bit more clear than that. That's your hypothalamus in here. That's your hypothalamus. The pituitary gland was underneath it when we took it out. This in here, that's your corpora quadrigemina. It looks completely different in section. And then that is your pineal body on your pineal gland. And again, it looks different when you cut it than when you look at it as a whole sheep brain. So you can see the white matter, you can see the gray matter in here very well. So those are some of the things you can see on the sheep brain. So if you do your own, you can follow what I did, or you can do it